learning to crochet, you need the tools for the job. So firstly, I've got some chunky wool here. This is the Stylecraft Special Chunky, which is a good yarn to start with. Now, to find out what size hook you need to look here, and it usually gives you the details for knitting or crocheting. So in this instance, it's saying 6mm. So I've grabbed two 6mm hooks that we've got in the shop. We've got the straight 6mm, and we've also got these soft grip ones, which you hold like that. They're like a pen. You can see there's a little indentation at the top and then flat sides, so you can hold it like a pen. And that's how I suggest you hold your hook when you're learning to crochet. Don't hold it like this, because you've no control and you'll soon get pain in your arm if you're trying to crochet like that. So you always hold your hook like you're holding a pen. Right, when we need to start, what we need to do first is make a slip knot. So to make a slip knot, it's simply making a circle and tucking that through. So, and that pull, and that gives you a slip knot. I'll just do that again so you can see, just in case you don't know how to do this. So you make a circle with the yarn and then just poke the end through, pull both ends, and it tightens. And then you can just put that onto your hook and pull it tight. And then remember, when we're holding our crocheting hook, we're holding it like a pen, not like a spoon. So like a pen, so you've got more control. And then we're tensioning the wool, tension it however you feel is comfortable. So, and then we start, and it's literally just yarn over your hook and pull it through. And like I say, if you don't keep it in the same place, tilt it and turn it however it makes it easier for you to get that yarn through that loop. So it's yarn over and through, yarn over and through, yarn over and through, yarn over and through again. And we just carry on doing that for however many chains you want to do. I suggest doing about 20 or 30 initially, or just to get used to using your hook. Do a great long line if you need to do, but just carry on and get into the flow, and you do get a rhythm going. And then we just end up with our chain. Right, when we've got the chain and we've done a few stitches, you'll see that this is the front of your chain stitch. So the front of your chain stitch is like a V. So you can see these little V's here. That is your front. Now your back, it's got like a little it looks like it's got a running stitch running through the centre, so it's got these little bobbles on the back. That's the back of your stitch. We always want to be working on the front of the stitch where it does look like a chain, so you've got these little V's. And then often a pattern will say start on the second or third stitch from the hook. Now, because I'm going to show you how to do a double crochet, I'm going to show you from the second chain from the hook. So that's the first chain. You don't count the one on your actual hook. So that's that one, and then this one here. So to do a double crochet, all we're going to do, we're going to go through the bottom of this stitch here. And if you can see, they're like slanted little stitches here. And we're going to go into that one at the bottom. So we only need one at the bottom and then two at the top. You can see there that there's one loop at the bottom and two at the top. We're going to yarn over and bring that through the loop and there through the chain, and then we're going to yarn over and pull that through too. And remember to use, do move, you don't keep it in the same kind of position. Do move it so it makes it easier for you to draw your yarn through any of the loops that might be on the hook. So I'll show you that one again. So we're going to go through the bottom, yarn over, pull that through, yarn over again and pull that through the two loops. This is what we call a double crochet. So I'll show you that again. So through the bottom, yarn over, pull it through, yarn over again and pull it through the 2 loops. And I'm going to continue along that until I get to the end. Right, we're now at the end. So the last stitch is this one here before the slip knot that we started. So I'm just going to go into the bottom here and pull that through. It might be a little bit tight, so just bear with it and then pull it through. So there we've got a double crochet in each of the chain spaces. Now when we come to turn, what we do, we always think about the height of the stitch we've just done. Now we've just done a double crochet, so think 2 chains to turn. So with 1 chain, 2 chain, and then we're going to turn the work round. And what we're going to do now is we're going to work in each one of these spaces here and do another double crochet. Now this turning chain, I'm actually going to use this as a stitch. So I'm not going to go into this one, I'm going to go into the next one. Now that's important when you want to try and keep the sides of your crocheting even, nice and even. When you start off, you end up doing quite a lot of triangles going that way, or you end up with whatever it is, a rhombus going that way, because you adding stitches on every line. So the 2 turning chain are actually classed as a stitch. So we're not going to go in this one, we're going to go in this one. We're going to do exactly the same. So I'll show you again that one. So it's through that space, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over and pull through again. So into the space, yarn over and pull your yarn through, yarn over and through, and then you just carry on doing that. I would suggest that if you're going to be using predominantly double knitting wool when you're crocheting, is to start off using double knitting. Don't go using a chunky wool like I'm doing here. I'm only doing this for the purposes of the camera. So just use the wool that you're going to be using for your projects most of the time, and get used to using that wool, because it's really difficult to get used to that type of wool and then move down. If I would always try and start off with double knitting, and we're at the end. Now when you're learning, I would always get you to count. I still do this. I mean, I did this over the weekend, and I still count the trebles every row until I get into the pattern, to make sure I've not added any stitches or lost any stitches along. So if you started off with a chain of 20 chains, make sure that you've got, if it's double, you'll end up with 18 double crochets, because you're going into the second stitch. So make sure you count when you've done your first practice chain and your first double crochets. Make sure you've got the same amount of stitches on every line, otherwise that's when you do end up, you know, with you adding more stitches or losing stitches. Now I'm going to show you how to do a treble. Now to do a treble, the turning chain needs to be 3 chains, so it's 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to turn it round. And we're going to do the same and work through these little holes, but we're going to do a treble stitch now. And a treble stitch is yarn over before you put it through. So don't forget, we're counting this as a stitch. The reason why we do 3 chain or 2 chain, it's just really to bring the stitch height up to the stitch that you're using. So obviously that is like the height of a treble stitch. So a treble crochet. So to do a treble, we're going to put the yarn over, and then we're going to put it into the second one, pull the yarn through. We've got 3 stitches on the hook now. We're going to yarn over, we're going to pull through the first 2, yarn over again and pull it through those 2. So I'll show you that one again. So it's yarn over, through the hoop, pull it through. So with 3 stitches on the hook, yarn over, pull it through 2, pull it through the last 2, and you just carry on doing that. Even on this pattern here, obviously these are rows of treble here in this pattern. Now even with this little fan shape, it was 2 trebles, a chain, and then a treble. So we're still using trebles to create this kind of pattern. So you can see that even just one stitch, you can, depending on how you use it, how you position it in the chain, will give you infinite number of patterns. So for instance, say you go wrong and you do, you know, you pull it through all 3, which is actually a half treble stitch. So that is actually a stitch. But say you do a half treble and you should have done a treble. It's so easy to rectify your mistakes when you're crocheting. It's not, when you make a mistake in knitting, it's such a pain having to pull all the stitches back. With crocheting, it's really easy. All you do is remove your hook and you just pull it back to where you were. And you've not dropped any stitches or anything, you just put your hook back in and you've done. So for instance, if you've done too many trebles in a row and you know, you need to pull it back, you can pull it back like that and go back to a position where you were. Just put your hook in again and you can carry on. So just carry on doing some trebles. I'm going to show you how to do a half treble when we get to, like I've just shown you there. And then at least you've got a repertoire of a double crochet, a treble crochet and a half crochet. And what I suggest you do then is go away and practice those stitches, and practice those stitches until you get in the same amount of, you know, do a chain of say 25 or 30 to start with, and do your trebles or your doubles on that chain until you get in the same number of stitches on each row. Half treble is yarn over. We're still going to go through the hole and pull that yarn through. So up to that point, it is exactly the same as a treble. Now on a treble, if you remember, we just pulled it through the first 2, like that. And then we yarned over again. With a half treble, you're pulling it through all 3 of your stitches. So it's yarn over, through the hole, pull it through, yarn over, through all the 3. Yarn over, through the hoop, 3 stitches and pull them all through. And that does create, if it's slightly shorter. So this is your double crochet here, that's your treble crochet there, and then this is the half treble. And the size of that stitch is between this stitch and this stitch. So it is a useful stitch. I've done these, I'm going to show you how to do what they call a slip stitch. And usually a slip stitch, if you're using it along a straight edge like this, is used to get from one position to another before you start shaping. So there we go, we've got to the end. I'm just going to 1 stitch up. Now to slip stitch, all we're doing with the slip stitch, this is used for kind of joining granny squares together as well. So all you're doing here is through the hole, you're not wrapping anything round first, you're just going to go through the hole, pull the wool through and pull it straight through your loop. So all you're doing is pulling that yarn through and through the loop. And the best thing to do is to keep your stitches quite loose doing this, because as I said, this is usually how you get in from one position to another without adding height. So you don't want this to be tight, because you don't want to be pulling your crocheting in. So this is what we class as a slip stitch. So it's through there, through there. So there's no wrapping and there's no yarn overs. So wrapping yarn overs. So straight through, pull that through. And so you can see there that gives you just like a little, it's a nice way to finish off an edge if you don't want to just leave it like that. It gives you a bit more of a sturdy edge as well if you're doing something, say if you're making a cushion, and that's how we join things together as well. So just carry on practicing those stitches, getting used to holding your hook, make your hook work for you. Try and keep an even tension. That's the hardest thing to do when you first learn to crochet, is to keep the tension on your wool even, and as soon as you master that, then you're away. I think we're going to do another tutorial on pattern reading written patterns and charts at a later stage, but for all those who are wanting to learn to crochet, please go and have a practice and let us see what you do.